All right, good morning. Rob Browne on this Friday, July
It's my shaken
26th.
espresso.
But it looks good. It is
It
Friday,
is.
July 26th, 2024. Brenden, what is that, cold coffee?
It's we're not going to name the company, but it's a oat milk shaken espresso with an extra shot.
Shot, shaken, not stirred. We are broadcasting live from Dr. Waller May and Susan May's home here on the plains in Auburn, Alabama. Just doing some business down here. Heading back up to Memphis later today. We got a great show today. I met this guy, Chris Plank, the sideline reporter for the Oklahoma Boomer Sooner Football Network. He is wired up. Love his energy. And Doug B. Dean from Birmingham, Frank Duffy from New Orleans this morning, College Football Roundtable. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Allow notifications on your Android and iPhone. Tell friends, family, and neighbors. SEC Sideline Sports Network, SECU, The Buddy Martin Show, Best Fridays in Football with Coach Urban Meyer in football season. Get pen and paper handy because we're coming at you with some great stuff. We are 864 hours away from the start of college football season, and we're going to tell you all about it with the best guests in America after this.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, we got the panel up here, the College Football Roundtable going right now. Doug Dean in Birmingham, Frank in New Orleans. I'm in Auburn. Brendan's in Ocala, Florida. Chris, are you in Norman or Oak City?
Norman. Yeah, I'm in Norman.
Now, are you with KREF Radio?
Yes, sir. In fact, we hit the air in about an hour from now. Got a show we do from 9 to noon every day where it's all Sooners all the time, hopefully. But now it's become all SEC all the time.
Yeah, I saw you and Tyler McComas. We've had him on the show a couple of times before, and I'd heard him on Chuck Oliver's show. And I said, man, that's the Boomer Sooner crowd. This is our College Football Roundtable we do on Fridays. Obviously, we cover all 16 of the SEC schools, and we started really tapping into it July of 21 when it was announced at the Winfrey Hotel in Hoover that OU and Texas had inquired about membership. And we've have a lot of Texas coverage, but I've been having more trouble getting Oklahoma. So glad to have you on here. Welcome to the SEC. Looking forward to seeing you down here in Auburn, September 28th. I'll be coming from Memphis, but talk about what the temperature is like out there among the OU fans. Growing up in Memphis, I have always followed Oklahoma football because our family friend Buddy Leak was a great All-American football player there in the 52 backfield in the 50s. And he had that website, Southern Fried Sooner. But Oklahoma, they got a hell of a brand. Tell us about it.
Yeah, and they're passionate fans, right? They're, Brent Venables has kind of readjusted the mindset, I think is the best way to put it. And not that it was ever, bad, but when Lincoln Riley left, there was a lot of fans wondering what's next, where's this program going, where the Royal we are 3 to 4 years away from hitting the SEC. We didn't know if it would be sooner than it actually ended up being.
Yeah,
there was a lot of concern, and Bob Stoops stepped up and said, listen, we're a player-run program, and they kind of took the ball and ran with it. It was a rough first year. They had a lot of work to do. They had not recruited well on the defensive side of the football. Brent Venables has come in and he's put together some solid defensive-minded recruiting classes that continue. Got a big recruiting weekend this weekend. So there's a lot of excitement, and it's a program that the defense had been the first bus in for the longest time.
Yeah,
had adjusted to offense, and understandably so, with Heisman Trophy winners and a Heisman finalist back-to-back years. But they're still a very good offensive football team. Now they're becoming a very good defensive football team. They might be a year away, but I think they're there where they need to be defensively for sure.
Which is the Venables stamp.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Doug, jump in here. Brent Venables is one of the great defensive minds in all of college football. I know Tommy Tuberville, Doug, wouldn't you say every time the defensive coordinator position was up for grabs at Auburn, he was always on the short list and never got him to Auburn. But I saw him at media days. He had on his cowboy boots and his cowboy. He looks the role of a badass football coach. Great defensive mind.
He does. Chris, good to see you. Doug Dean in Birmingham. A warm welcome to the SEC. And just as a display of what we value, and I'm sure Sooners fans do, Southern hospitality. Maybe you don't call yourself Southerners, but you can now if you wish. But I just want to extend as an Auburn man, I want to extend an olive branch and help Coach Venables out with the fifth game on your schedule. You really don't need to prepare very much emotionally for coming to Jordan-Hare, as we all know, is one of the easier venues to play in. And you caught a break that, thanks to Georgia and Alabama, those scallywags, they get the night game. So at least Jordan-Hare, you won't be playing under. It won't matter. Oklahoma is going to be loaded on defense. All seriousness, Chris, I think that's going to be a whale of a game for football fans to warm up for Alabama, Georgia. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because so many fans' excitement over the SEC schedule starts with Tennessee, right? And then it continues because OU Texas is always there in the schedule. But you think about Tennessee and being such a huge game in impacting, what Oklahoma can be. A lot of people have looked at that as a swing game. I'm over the moon excited about OU and Tennessee and Josh Heupel coming back to town and getting to see Nico play in person. But I'm equally as juiced about that first road trip. That's their first SEC road trip to Auburn, and it's pretty cool. I think that y'all that were there experienced it. Whenever the conversations started around, hey, life on the road, and Jackson Arnold was asked about it. I think he shared a conversation he had with Carson Beck that the most juiced environment was Auburn. And listen, they're going to be fired up, and they should be. It's Oklahoma's first ever trip to Auburn, the first time they've ever played there. I don't know that the teams have ever played in the regular season. I think every matchup has always been a bowl game. And they have played twice in the regular season. So then the third time, and I think those matchups are like many, many moons ago. But the bottom line is everyone gets excited about Tennessee and Alabama coming here and things of that nature. But to me, the true tone setter is, hey, how are they going to go about things? How are they going to go about things when they hit the road and that's play? And that's their first challenge.
Chris, and to your point about what are the swing games, if you're not named Alabama or probably Georgia or probably Alabama, we have to see all these teams play a few games. Fans are asking, if we want to try to get to 10 wins or 11 wins. I don't think anybody gets to 11 regular season wins, but that's bold. On my Georgia fans would probably disagree with me, and maybe a couple others. But it seems like, and I'm not going to be one of those snarky SEC fans that's going to look down my nose at Oklahoma and at North Texas. You've got tradition that you shouldn't have to apologize to anyone. But as you know, as your fan base knows, it's a high IQ Sooner fan base. There are 4 or 5 swing games for most of us, right?
Sure. Auburn's in there for Oklahoma.
Yeah, maybe.
They've got to beat. I mean, listen, you got to beat Tennessee. If Oklahoma wants to have a chance to do something special this season, that 4th game of the season, you've got to win. You've got to beat Tennessee.
Because it's at home. It's at home.
It's a home game, right? You've got to – Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, you have listed as home game, obviously. That's in the Cotton Bowl. That's every year down in Dallas. Because that – I would like to thank whoever decided to give us one of the most difficult schedules on the road. I mean, most years when you would go to Missouri, you wouldn't care because Missouri kind of stinks. But this year, what Eli Drinkowitz has done and how they've taken advantage of the rules in Missouri to really recruit well in both the portal and bring in some Missouri area guys. Missouri's a problem. Ole Miss is one of the greatest case studies in college football this year with free agency, right? You got to go to LSU on Thanksgiving weekend and toss in Auburn, which is a great unknown. So I don't know if it could be more difficult.
Oklahoma, I'll get to Frank and Rob, but Oklahoma, to me, got, at least on paper, there may be some surprise. Oklahoma got hosed on their schedule, arguably more than any other team.
Well, Texas sure didn't get hosed.
No.
Outside of getting Georgia, which you don't want to have anything to do with Georgia, but I might take an opportunity to play Georgia to get that schedule that Texas has this year in the SEC.
Yeah. Frank?
Well, besides the fact that I'm wearing my Tulane gear because I'm here at our apartment in the French Quarter, I am a dyed-in-the-wool LSU fan. So I first want to apologize right off the bat for our 2019 game with you guys. I just want to let you know that was an anomaly. I would love to have Joe Burrow and the boys back. So I guess we've already kind of welcomed y'all to the SEC a little bit. Even on the heels of our 2003 national championship game with you guys. But I will tell you, the pride that is Oklahoma football, going back to my days of watching, the teams that Barry Switzer put out there that were just incredibly fun to watch them run that wishbone. My question to you, though, is give me a feel for the fans of Oklahoma as they're coming into the SEC. And what is their gut reaction to this burnt orange BS all the time? Look, our Texas A&M buddies, when we're not beating the hell out of them at the end of the year, they were warning us, you guys have no idea of the obnoxiousness of the Texas fan base. You have no clue. And watching this and watching the two of you guys come in, it's like the queen is entering the coronation and you guys are over there with the field mice sweeping up the cinders in the fireplace. What is Oklahoma's feel right now of this, oh my gosh, just fire hose of burnt orange that we're now all having to live with here at the SEC?
Well, the unfortunate thing is, Frank, we're used to it. It happens every single year. And it's not just that it happens every single year. It's that the media falls for it every single year. Now, it seems different, right? Because they went to the playoffs last season. But I don't know if anyone's really taken the time to truly dig into the Texas depth chart, right? It's not the same. Jalen Ford's gone. Their two best interior defensive linemen are gone. Their best safety or their best corner is gone. Their starting running back, their two wide receivers, their best tight end is gone. And everyone looks, Quinn Ewers is back and Arch Manning is there, so they're going to be great. Used to it. We get it every single year. And listen, I would say this year, based on what they did last season, it's warranted. But I also don't think that I would put them in the top 3 in this conference right now.
No.
And I mean, I think everyone will learn their lesson and they'll see in time. But this is a rite of passage, man. Every offseason, it's Texas is incredible. No one looks back and realizes should have probably lost to Kansas State last year. It should have probably been in a much more difficult spot against Houston if they don't commit a ridiculous personal foul late in that game. So, it's everyone has those close games. And the difference between great and good is winning those games. And Texas did that last season. So I'm used to it. We fight it every single year. I think you could probably go back. I've been doing radio in Oklahoma since 1997. You could probably find an off season every year since where Texas is supposed to either from Chris Sims to everyone. I mean, it's unreal, the nonstop coverage and attention they get every single off season. And I was shocked, as you know what, to see that it carried over to the SEC.
Well, I'm going to throw something at you. I mean, you know this, but I look at 1996, Big 12 is formed. Since then, Texas has won it 4 times. Oklahoma, 14.
Right.
You're
about that? That's how people are acting.
Yeah. Last 14 years, Texas has had 2 double-digit win seasons and 7 or 8 losing seasons. And I don't hate Texas. I mean, I've got great Texas guys on the show, but call it like you see it. 7 or 8 losing seasons the last 14 years. 2 double-digit win seasons. Oklahoma, 11 double-digit win seasons. Their bad years were 8 and 9 win years. In Venable's first year, they're 6 and 7. They lose those last 5 games, 4 of them by a field goal. And so I'm thinking, Oklahoma, 52 conference championships, 7 national championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners. And it all started back during the Dust Bowl in the 30s. John Steinbeck's great novel, The Grapes of Wrath. The governor of Oklahoma said, "We've been through hell, and a lot of other stuff, but we're going to have great football out here. And I'm with Frank and Doug. Welcome to the conference. And we've played Texas at Auburn before several times. I've been to Austin. Oklahoma is a blood red state. It fits in to the SEC like a foot into a comfortable shoe. I mean, and they are Southerners. I'll say that. When you cross Arkansas on I-40 into Oklahoma, the first sign you see is "Welcome to Oklahoma, 10 killer state recreation areas 10 miles to your right." Yep. And you go up to Tulsa, up through Choctaw Country. That's a cool state. And the people there, I think, are bouncing off I know some Oklahoma fans in Memphis. I know them around, but you are fired up. Tell us about Sidelines reporting. And someone asked, who's the greatest Oklahoma Sooner of all time? And I might qualify that by saying from Texas and then in-state.
Oh, my gosh. That's greatest Oklahoma Sooner of all time. Well, listen, you can the Selman.
It's a long list.
Yeah, Leroy Selman.
We could be here all day long on that. But, you know, the overall excitement level, I think, for Oklahoma is one of, I guess you could say, guarded optimism. There's some that joke and they say, all we wanted to do was play Nebraska at night. Now we got to deal with going to LSU and going to Auburn and playing. You know, all we wanted to do, Big 12, was to play Nebraska at night. If you wouldn't keep giving these damn 11 a.m. games, it might be a different story. But, you know, the reality of it is, and our buddy Teddy Lehman put it best, Oklahoma had maybe been sleepwalking a little bit, and I think it shows off in the 2019 Peach Bowl. That was embarrassing. Probably should have won the 2017 game against Georgia in the Rose Bowl.
Weren't
very
game.
Yeah, they weren't competitive against Alabama. They needed a wake-up call, and knowing what you're getting into now in the Southeastern Conference has been a wake-up call for a lot of people. You've seen the staff grow. You've seen the investment grow. I think Lincoln Riley leaving made boosters and donors feel some sort of way. So you've seen that investment in the program continue to grow. Everyone realized how big of a step up it was going to be. And now I think you're seeing it continue to manifest itself in what they've done with their personnel, how they're better and good at NIL now. You don't have Brent Venables going out of press conferences and telling people that, oh, we had to catch up on everything. They've just done it. You know, they've gone out and done it. And now, will the results match on the field? You know, you went from 6 wins to 10 wins. It's a good upgrade, but you still lost to Oklahoma State and Kansas and somehow got beat by Arizona. Right. Much different world.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. And I'll say this.
It doesn't matter if he comes.
This whole idea.
I'll mute it. I got to do the show, but I'm on air right now.
History of OU. Rob, I mean, gosh, a recent memory, dude. I love Baker Mayfield. He's probably the most popular Oklahoma Sooner of all time, but holy smokes, man. You get into the best. Oh, man, Steve Owens. You get into these old heads.
Billy Sims, in my opinion, was the greatest Oklahoma Sooner.
Shoes. Hey,
boy, could he run the rock.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, Chris, I for one, I'm the resident Florida Gator shit talker on staff here. And I love you guys because one of my really great memories of, Oklahoma Boomer Sooner football, is one of my very good friends in Colorado, which is really where I hail from. Him and I had a strong rivalry. And then, there was that one time where, we beat you guys, for the Natty.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
I was there for that moment in the sideline. So, it wouldn't be right if I didn't talk a little bit of smack and say, not only, we're re-welcoming you to the SEC, but also to Gator football. So even though we're struggling, we're looking forward to this.
Well, and I'll tell you what, what's interesting, buddy, is we had thought, and I think inevitably we're going to get to a 9-game schedule. Why? Did they have the wrong name on your screen?
It's my father's name. He uses the software at night, and
I've
never changed it over.
I'm trying to remember everyone's name.
I'm so used to being Buddy Martin. It's not even funny. It's cool. Okay. Don't worry about it. It's my other personality. Trust me. I can be Buddy, no problem.
Well, Buddy's his dad. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is we had thought, and maybe the 9-game schedule looks like the future. And when you look at the 3-year, every year competition opponents that you would have, I got to be honest with you, I thought Florida was going to be in. I would love to see something develop between Oklahoma and Florida. That's always been one of my favorite things. I love the Gators. I think it's a great brand. I think it's, we'll see. Billy Napier was not all that impressive at SEC Media Days, but who cares if he wins the next conference?
But
I'd love to see OU Florida generate something.
I mean, can we talk really quick about Stoops and
Sure.
there was a lot, when he was at Florida and when he left, there was always that conversation that like he would come back and be, the head football coach at Florida one day. Like that was sort of like, I think, unwritten or whatever, when he left it, and then, I think he had opportunity at some point to make a move. I think when Mullen came in, was there any conversation or you ever hear anything about that?
Oh my gosh. Now maybe not as much when Dan Mullen came in, but definitely like after Spurrier left.
Yeah.
So Mullen had left. I think it was after Bob had retired. So
2017. Yeah.
After the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
But
sorry. Mullen came in 2017, left in
after that Cotton Bowl.
After that Cotton Bowl. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't heard much about it there, but I mean, listen, man, Brenden, that was what we were all worried about back in the day is Florida and the ties that Bob had at Florida. That's where he got his start as a defensive coordinator, right? And on the next level.
Yeah. That was his whole stage. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, we had reporters out on his lawn that were talking about he's gone. He's going to Gainesville. So, thankfully that never happened for Oklahoma. And honestly, I mean, it worked out okay for Florida.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Bob Stoops, that was always our great fear as Oklahoma fans was him going to Florida.
Chris, I know our listeners, first of all, why is there a lot of interest besides Oklahoma being a blue blood? I'll give you that, and an unbelievable tradition over the decades. But in this 200-mile radius of where Rob broadcasts, may as well be a 1,000-mile radius. You play Bama, you play Auburn, you play LSU, Tennessee. So there's an enormous interest to get inside the Oklahoma program and what to expect from this team this year. Huge upset win over Texas last year. It almost set you up for that Kansas. That was a bear trap for anybody to walk in and play that. That's a hell of a coach at Kansas. I know it's Kansas, but they're well coached. But I'm looking at anybody that underestimates a Brent Venables defense does so at their own peril. He's proven that. But look, go to the offensive side of the ball, and if you take a superficial look, Jeff Levy's left. Saban wanted to hire Levy. He's head coach at Mississippi State now, so Oklahoma will have a drop off. But you look a little closer, and I think Sooners fans will be excited. But they're doing the co-OC approach with Seth Luttrell, who played on the 2000 national championship team as a fullback, and I love this name, Joe John Finley. Sounds like an Oklahoma guy. Also a former Sooners player. So tell us about the brain trust, because we know Venables won't be meddling in the offense, I presume. But is it going to be the same philosophy you had last year, or what should Sooners and other fans look for to be any different, if at all?
I think it's one of the most fascinating unknowns, Doug, and I'm as intrigued as anyone. We had an opportunity yesterday to spend some time with both Joe John and Seth, and Seth's going to be the play caller, right? And Seth is an air raid guy. He did a great job in North Texas. You mentioned one of the Sooner, I guess you could say, legends. You talk about popular players. Seth Luttrell, the fullback on that 2000 national championship team, is one of the most popular players in the history of Oklahoma. But he's had great success in North Texas as a head coach. Now got fired there because things dipped a little bit late. He's an air raid guy. So he is like that Texas Tech Mike Leach air raid guy.
Yeah.
Joe John Finley was Jeff Levy's right-hand man. That's not the air raid. That's more of a spread, and we can get into the minor intricacies between the two. So that's where we don't know. Like, what is it going to look like? They did the promote from within, so they didn't have to change a lot of the language for Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
But in that same vein, Seth Luttrell's going to put his spin on it. And it's, from what I've been able to tell, it's been a really cool working relationship between Luttrell and Joe John. They've got the quarterback room set up, I think, pretty nice over the next few years. Michael Hawkins, 5-star kid, will probably be the backup, if not the third guy this year. But this is real. Oklahoma's offense is real simple this year. Jackson Arnold, how does he handle it as the starting quarterback? And can their offensive line hold up? That's it. They've got playmakers at receiver. They've got a good running back group. They brought in a few tight ends. How much will the tight end be used this year? They've got to be good in the trenches. They've got to be good on the offensive line. And that was their big question mark this offseason.
Well, Chris, I know
the Sooners go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just going to say, I promised him we'd get him out of here in a few minutes. So, Chris, just as soon as you got to go. But absolutely love having you on here.
Yeah.
You're welcome anytime. And you got a tailgate with us when you come down here to Auburn for the Oklahoma. We're going to find you.
That won't be a problem. I mean, we're doing a 3-hour pregame show now, so it might have to be super early. But
well, Chris, we're gonna try to hit up our buddy Frank here for Bengal One, his mobile home, to just wrap it in our graphics and take us around to the different schools in the SEC. So when Frank doesn't know that I'm going to hit him up later for that. So when he agrees to be the driver for Rob and I to go crazy and then like do a show on top of the RV, like we're in Daytona infield, like that's going to be our own game day. Game day is going to be lawn chairs and like Stanley's full of bourbon. That's going to be the whole game day.
Doug, finish this question. I know, and Chris, let them know how they can follow you. But Doug's
before you bounce, Chris, Auburn and Oklahoma will have something else in common when the Sooners. And by the way, you can tell your fans you can expect to be treated like royalty. I mean, there's always that 1 in 1,000 fans that's a jerk, but we take pride in. I think most all of the SEC schools do. There are exceptions, but Hugh Freeze replaced both coordinators. Brent Venables also, not that he wanted to, but he replaced both coordinators. So when the Sooners come to Jordan-Hare, I think if Vegas makes it, let's say, a high 30s over and under, I might take the under because both of these offenses are probably still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, and early on defenses are always ahead of the offense, you think. Yeah. I think if Oklahoma had their druthers, they wanted Jeff Lebby to be here for a long time. Good on him to get that Mississippi State opportunity. But Zach Alley, the replacement of Ted Roof, that was a choice. They didn't renew his contract. And Zach Alley's young. It'll be interesting. It sounds like he's going to be the voice in the headset for Danny Stutzman or whoever's that middle linebacker. So it's going to be a fascinating time to see Brett siege some of that to a defensive coordinator this year.
Before you go, Chris, one of the things early reports, when I guess, even before the beginning of the summer officially, Oklahoma was going out and they decided to get big at offensive and defensive line. They were the highest or the team that prioritized that the most, saying if you're going to play in the SEC, you got to be big up front. I know you just said that, but that was, I think they got 3 or 4 guys in the portal. I could be wrong, but I remember they got 4 big dudes in the portal. I've been saying all along, people talking about Texas, watch out for Oklahoma because they get it. Right. Yeah. They understand that. And I think that harkens back to the conversation we just had about Stoops. So I just think, I guess it's not a question. I just was sort of like, how big, what have they done more specifically offensively and defensively to get better? And if you could just comment on that. Yeah,
and real quick, the Dominic Williams acquisition in the interior of the defensive line is huge for them because they had, 2 true freshmen that were going to play, or that are going to play a lot. But you bring in Dominic Williams with DeJoun Terry, who came in from Tennessee. That's a formidable interior to defensive line. And then the offensive line is all new. I mean, literally all 5 starters could be portal guys. Hickman came in to play center after they had a guy get hurt. Michael Tarquin, it came in from USC and had been at Florida for a little bit. He might start at one of the tackles for him. Spencer Browne came in from Michigan State, and he hasn't been very good. Fabechi Wiwu is a guy they brought in at offensive line. He's going to start at one of the guard spots. It really hurt them losing Caden Green to Missouri. But you're right. They wanted to get bigger. They wanted to get better in the trenches. They know that's where they need to be good. That's where they need to be better. If they want to compete, that's where they've got to be elite. And they worked hard on getting there.
We are absolutely a lineman conference. Yeah. To be on good side, both sides of the ball. because it's not a 1 game or 2 game.
Right.
It's having those lines in place for all 8 games,
Agreed.
the baton death march of an SEC season. That's
Hey, Chris,
why it's so important.
Chris, you can tell the interest. I mean, we've all grown up. This panel, we know Oklahoma football, but we don't know it like you do. I want to tell you how much we appreciate it. I know you got a big day. Brenden and I, after this show, are available to come on there with you, talking Gators. You just text me what we do for that. But we're ready to go. But we're going to meet you Doug and I are going to meet you at Toomer's Corner for the Auburn game, September 20th. We'll buy you some lemonade, show you around, but
we'll hand you a roll of toilet paper to throw after the game.
Thanks, guys. Quality time, man. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon in about 30 minutes. Thank you. Doug, I can see it in your enthusiasm and Frank's and Brenden. We have grown up with these guys, and now they're
going to be fun. They're going to be.
I never hated
you. I grew up around Texas football. I hate Texas football, and I grew up in Colorado, and we'd see Texas plates and California plates, and we would just honk, like pull over. The Texas people would scream going down the slopes. Yeehaw! Like hook 'em horns. I hate Texas football. But I am not excited about Texas football being there. I don't like anything to do with Texas football. But Oklahoma football, I got respect for, obviously, because the Stoops and the fact that they get it in Oklahoma. Watch out for Oklahoma.
Hey, Rob, Oklahoma sends you a thank you note after they come over for dinner. Texas comes over and bitches because the coffee's not hot enough.
And drinks all your beer.
That's the two.
And Frank, Texas leaves with your wife because they've got oil money.
You win.
Well, Oklahoma has got some serious oil money too. But
ain't no Texas oil money.
Oklahoma is a lot like Auburn in that they rely heavily on Texas. Auburn has made a living off of Georgia players over the years. In fact, the Athletic about 3 years ago, Doug, you remember that they had the all-time Georgia players on Auburn versus the all-time Auburn team of players from in-state. And, your quarterbacks, Cam Newton for the Georgia team, Pat Sullivan for Auburn. But Auburn had a running back, Bo Jackson. Georgia, it may have been, I still, to this day, Doug, think the fastest running back, pound for pound, best breakaway threat I've ever seen on the plains was James Brooks from Warner Robins, Georgia. Doug, that's still, I was number 21 when we played football. Or Joe Cribbs from Sulligent, who before he would go out of bounds would always lower his head and hit you in the stomach. And after a while, you got tired of that. But, man, that was cool conversation. Let's flip it right now and just say this. We don't hate Texas, but I think what it is
Brenden
some
does.
teams are born on third. Some teams are born on third base and think they hit a triple.
What's your question?
No. But I was going to say Texas fans, all this bragging, Alabama fans can do it because they got the hardware to back it up. But if you look, that thing about Texas is if money could solve it, it ain't really a problem. It's a true statement. But anyway, y'all, let's go. This is great.
Yeah, well, I was just going to, by the way, make Chris Plank a regular if you're able, Rob, as the season progresses. Not to get into your programming decisions.
Hey, you're part of the team, dude.
Yeah, you're doing a fine job.
You're the CEO wherever you go, Doug. You know that. Right? Whatever the hell you're doing, Doug.
That would be Dave.
You get that, right? No, you get that. You scare the shit out of me. Like you are in charge wherever you go. Just
thank you. I probably have.
Yes, sir.
We all have a four. All four have a smidge of alpha in us, right? As the listeners would
not
prefer.
Around you. You win. I already give in.
You're
the boss, dude. Whatever you want, man.
He must have gotten a picture of me with my bow kill of a bear. But Rob, if Chris were still here, I would say, here's your pathway, brother. You got a brutal schedule. Probably no chance to make the playoff in 2024 based on paper. And I don't mean to besmirch Oklahoma whatsoever, but they still have a path depending on the selection committee. The path is probably 3 losses, but it's got to be these 3 losses. Auburn, they got to beat Auburn. Oklahoma does. That would not be a pretty loss. even though it's in Jordan-Hare. Now, by the end of the season, it might look prettier if Hugh Freeze overachieves. Then they would have to lose a competitive close one to perhaps Texas, perhaps Ole Miss, because people are really high on Ole Miss, or Alabama. And I think there may be, well, I should say, we will find out how big the onions are with this selection committee when they get to make a decision. Is a 3-loss Oklahoma with an unbelievable degree of difficulty schedule, is that worthy of going in as the 3rd or even 4th SEC team over pick your teams in these lesser conferences? And that, I don't know the answer. My guess right now would be the first year out, the committee will say, well, we'll give 3 to the SEC, 3 to the Big Ten, and just try to keep everybody happy across the landscape of football. And I hope they're more objective than that, looking at the quant and the metrics of degree of difficulty.
Yeah, we don't need DEI in college football.
No.
We don't need that. We need the best teams. And let me tell you, short of Florida, Oklahoma's got the hardest schedule in this conference. If they go 9-3, they absolutely need to be in the college playoff with that schedule that they've got.
They got the split end of the stick when it came to the schedule. That's
no doubt.
Let me say something real quick about our great sponsors. Chad House, the great folks at ECS House Industries, Cherry Valley, Arkansas, 99,000 square foot warehouse just north of Wynn in Cherry Valley, Arkansas. And they make the better roller, the pulverizer, the better chopper. They make the aerators for the catfish farms. Love these people. Chad's favorite days of the year are the days right before Christmas when he gets to write bonus checks to his employees. Talk about investing in your most precious commodity. That is your people and their families and all that does for them. That is Chad House, houseindustriesinc.com, breaking ground. And Chris Aiken, my good friend at Web-Footed Kennels. Doug, if you know of anyone that is looking to buy a great hunting dog, he does select breedings. They check the hips, check the eyes. Chris Aiken, I've known him for 29 years, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Web-Footed Kennels. He's got a friend of mine from Anniston. He's got his German wire hair up there right now with all these Labrador retrievers, NFC, AFC, great bloodlines. He's got that German wire hair doing marks at 200 yards. People don't like, what? Yeah, that's how good Chris Aiken is. He's also one of the kindest people. He's tough, but he's got like 10 people supporting him. He's got, his kids. He's got his wife, Janet. He's just the whole. When you go to the grounds there, they're immaculate. Proud to be associated with them. Have Web-Footed Kennels. Find them on Facebook. And, of course, Justin Ross, the Vitamin Shop, Olive Branch, Oxford, Mississippi. Check them out on the website. And Camp Lee, Rumble Boxing Gym, Gaddis Home Innovation. Time for building that man cave. But you know what? We're social animals. No one wants to sit at home on their ass and watch games all the time. But he does your security cameras. He can build a home office. He can do it all. And the great folks at Tom Martin's Body Shop, Hewlett and Dunn, bootandclothingcompany.com. Look at all of our sponsors on sidelines.live.
What
Doug,
great
Frank,
sponsors. What a great group of American sponsors.
We really do. These guys are patriots. And I'm going to tell you something. Both of y'all are like me. We're giddy about this. I mean, it's Oklahoma and Texas. You're talking about football aristocracy. And both of y'all are great students of history. And you totally, and Brenden does too, you grasp it, that when these teams are coming into the league, we have this contiguous footprint and all the fan bases. So we all know each other. Now, I brought this question up. Texas and OU fans, Ken Capps, our great friend from out in Texas, Football Writers Association of America, says, I don't see Texas and OU people under the same tent. Well, maybe not right now, but how much fun, the weirdest rivalry, Auburn LSU, look how much fun that is. I don't think it matters. The game, there's 90,000, 100,000 in these stadiums. There's 50 or 60,000 tailgating outside the stadium. Oh. What does that say about this culture we've built down here and who we are?
It's hospitality at its best. We enjoy good food and good liquor and good times, and we love having a sort of shared experience. Yep. Fellowship, honestly, is what I call it. It truly is fellowship. College football is a lot of a religion down here in the South. It might be a pastime in other places, but worship happens here routinely. And but when our brethren come in, just like a dysfunctional family at Thanksgiving, we all get around that same table, and there might be squabbles and there might be issues, Rob and Doug, but that's my brother on the other side. And when they come in, they're going to get fed, they're going to get watered. Other than that 3 hours in that stadium, they're going to have the best time of their life. And I absolutely can see that of Oklahoma and Texas fans. But I will tell you, Texas fans, you better come with a little bit of humbleness, brother, because the gumbo pot giveth, but the gumbo pot can taketh away.
Oh, hold on, Frank. Frank, calm down. All right, calm down. One of the scariest places I've ever gone to was Death Valley. Okay, I don't want to hear about how friendly you are.
Oh, they are.
They are not.
I love going down there.
Yeah. Well, you're not a gator.
No,
You're not a gator. You're not a gator. Okay.
In Death Valley,
we are not welcome anywhere. Just so you know.
No,
okay. Just so you know, and I've been to all of them, and I'm telling you, we are not welcome anywhere. And look, they throw batteries at us on a regular. So
You know what?
We are hated
you know what y'all's
tribe.
problem is? I'll tell you. I'll tell you right now what Florida's problem is.
Well, let me hear it.
You guys are a northern school.
Oh boy.
That's in Florida, and everywhere around Gainesville is as south as it gets. Let me tell you, the panhandle of Florida is as redneck as it comes.
Yeah.
But Gainesville and the Florida fans, I mean, you know this as well as I do. Most of them are from the Northeast. So there is just a little bit of a culture off with Florida. And I'll tell you, you can sense it going back to our days. And look, Florida used to kick our ass when we would go into Gainesville. When Spurrier was there, you'd hear car jingling keys in the first quarter. It was an ass whipping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just Florida is just a different animal. It's still a Southern school. It's still an SEC school. One of our biggest rivalries. I mean, of course, being the crossover rivalry, there's not a lot of love lost between LSU and Florida. That's why our games are just. I mean, they're on. If you're going to be coming from another division, we have probably one of the best cross-division rivalries in the conference.
Oh, no question.
No question about it.
And Gainesville gets it up for LSU. I mean, some of my favorite games were LSU home games in the Swamp. But I will say that I don't disagree with what you're saying about.
Can you let
culture.
Doug back in? He keeps losing his connection. Yeah.
Yeah, he popped in. I didn't hear him. Okay. Sorry, Doug. I didn't hear you.
No worries.
All good. We were just saying, talking about the culture from LSU in Florida, and Frank was I think correct. Okay, you heard him. So I was just saying that I think there is a mixed bag with Florida fans. I think there is a lot of, now you have a lot of. One of Florida's problems is that they're not letting legacy in anymore, and there's a lot of people on this watching the show right now that will attest to that. It's a problem for Florida because I think you lose some of the who you are in that process. But Florida has elevated itself with education, and obviously, and so you have that a juxtaposition of like, what do we do, which direction do they grow, and I think they've done a good job keeping it even. But because of that, you do have a huge mixed bag of people that kind of come into Gainesville, and you're right, Gainesville's this pocket that is like very different than what Ocala is, which where I live, and and even as you go further north, I mean Jacksonville is a very mixed bag, but is the second largest city for Gator fans in Florida. Tampa, I think, is number one. So you look at this because I have a website, right? So we look at the demos and the numbers of all that stuff. So 6 million alumni, somewhere roughly in there. So you do, and that's all over the world. So Florida fan is spread out quite a bit, but the culture and the origination of the culture is rooted in the South, because Ocala is very much the South, right?
Oh yeah,
where I live is very much the South, and the Panhandle, and the further, south you go, it kind of like cuts off, right around, as you get out of Orlando proper, you start to get more into the southern vibe. But that's kind of how Florida divides up. And then obviously you go up into the Panhandle, into the boot. You have far more reaching, that's where the SEC obviously extends down and then hits LSU. So the rivalry has always been there. Yeah. And I think that's great. I'm commenting about going into Death Valley just because Franz made that comment the other day. He's like, I remember rolling in to Death Valley with you, Brenden, and they looked like they wanted a case. And Urban Meyer talks about how he rolled into Death Valley, and he's like, man, they hated us. And that environment, when you see that tiger, and I'm on the sideline, so I get that experience, and you're like, oh, shit, like this place is ready to go. But think about it. That's one school out of 15 others, right? So you got, now you go into Florida. Now they've got the lights and the whole thing at the third quarter, which is like, still my number one ranking YouTube video that I ever posted, so, and you've got all of this culture. Now you add Oklahoma, which none of us know anything about, and Texas, which, hate them or not, I hate them because they have a culture. They have a signature brand, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Frank, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Duff, because you're glib and you need no help with that. But if Frank meant that as a culture, the fan base, maybe over the last 10 or 20 years has been changed, you possibly diluted. I'm saying hello to my grandson. Hey, Jackaboo.
Hi, Jackaboo.
Hey.
So he just made it on air, at least reference. So if the fan base has changed, because we all hear the stereotype that Florida is the southernmost northern state because of the influx of people above the Mason-Dixon line. But I would only say, I don't think Frank is saying Florida is no longer capable of winning at the highest level. Because if it's recent enough with Spurrier, certainly with Urban Meyer, but with Spurrier and Urban Meyer, it can happen in droves. And the only question would be, is a commitment, which is always commendable in one sense, is a commitment to excellence still there, excellence in football still there, with administration and the leadership vis-a-vis financial commitments to stadium improvements, the arms race with facilities, and especially with NIL collectives. If they're doing all of that, and I see evidence that Florida is, then they should be able to, the fans will show up. Yeah. If you start winning, that Gator fan base will be there. I can promise you.
All you need is a spark. All you need is a spark, because you have it waiting for you. Everybody wants Billy Napier to do good. Yeah. Everyone wants to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I desperately want to be wrong about Bill. I hope he shocks the world, because all he has to do is get it going, get a couple early, beat the shit out of Miami. Like, that is a great way to start this. That's critical right now. You've got to take them to the woodshed like they didn't even matter, and then go out and blow out. You got to blow out your in-state rivals right off.
You better. You get them in Gainesville. You better.
And if you do that, if you reclaim that dominance, I think that's a really good start.
The Miami game is as important as the Utah game was a couple of years ago when Billy Napier started out. That was a critical game, and that at least set a stage. Now it kind of lost it at the end, but that's a critical stage. But let me tell you, I'll tell you, Doug, the money that the Bull Gators have. Oh. It's massive. Money's not an issue in Florida. It is not an issue. They got more money than Midas.
But they have dissension in the ranks. There's
of course they do,
That's how it goes, and that's what I mean by the spark. You get that spark, it's going to unify everyone, and then it's going to be like backing up a dump truck full of cash to the back. And sadly, everyone's waiting.
And sadly, Florida's dissension is a little bit like Auburn's sometimes in the higher echelons. When it's time for Auburn to make a change, you've got so many dissenting opinions, and then every person that puts money up, depending on what Pine and Lumber's going for it in a particular given time, you've got all these different opinions.
Only fans.
It's not one direction.
Yeah.
Very
where we will, we'll all get a pressure test on how committed we are if and when, which I tend to think it's a matter of when, not if, the college football, especially athletes become employees or some facsimile of that with collective bargaining. And all of a sudden schools are having to make a decision comparing resource commitment to a football game. How can we be so banal and shallow, Duff, versus academic excellence, hiring more faculty in the nursing college of nursing, and those kind of resource allocation decisions that reach the board level? Then we'll find out who wants to play big boy football.
But I always say, what's the psyche of a state worth? When they talk about how much money that a Nick Saban brings to Tuscaloosa, okay, what's the psyche? I mean, what does it do to enrollment? I mean, yeah, they're worth that because that's what the market's willing to bear. Let me tell you, if Hugh Freeze goes out and puts up a 10-2 record, here you go. Here you go. What's the psyche of the Auburn family worth?
Yeah, and you know what? Of course, who can forget Coach Bryant's famous rebuttal to the math professor complaining about how much football coaches make, and he says, "I can't imitate Coach Bryant, but I wouldn't even try." But he said something like, "I've never seen a math professor put 100,000 people in Legion Field."
Yeah.
So
that's where
that's where we are. And then Jay Gouge, then president, told me after that, and I bet the same thing happened at LSU after your national championship. It was always happening at Alabama and Georgia, but in that 2010 national championship run, in the wake of that, admissions, first of all, the footprint got expanded geographically, and it went up 10%. And the impressive thing is it stayed at that 10% higher level, even though Auburn started losing a bunch after that 2010 season. So football is the front porch.
Here's a number I'll throw at you that makes sense. Dr. Bill Hardgrave in 2010 took over as the dean of the Auburn College of Business. From 2010 to 2017, the 7 years he was there, enrollment increased 47%. Okay. You now, last year, for the first time in Auburn's history, have more students in the College of Business, like 6,400 and change, versus 6,200 in engineering. So it's a neck and neck. It's a healthy battle, but that's 10 times what it was when I was in school here. Now, wow. That's really, really big. The Harvard College of Business Management, Louder Hall. I was with Dr. Ali from the College of Business yesterday on campus meeting with him.
Oh, man.
The
we
AI
had
people.
a conversation
Listen,
yesterday.
guys, we're going to get him on
I don't
the
know
show.
why we didn't record it because it was fascinating.
What they
all
are
about
doing.
AI and sports and where we're headed and just, I mean, all the way down the rabbit hole too, like from sensors on your body to rights of your own biometrics to making predictive plays on who's juiced at that moment. I mean, it was
Hey,
awesome.
Brenden, who was at my Auburn Monday lunch, me and a bunch of geezers who love Auburn. They would call me a geezer probably, but word is from SEC Media Days, you may know this, Rob, that AI conference or gathering that they had, they said
we were there.
Auburn, maybe you guys told me. Auburn University was the leader in that thought discussion, thought leaders on the subject of AI.
I would say the SEC being Florida, and there were two gentlemen, two doctors from Auburn, and one and the person running the panel was a professor from Florida. And so
Office of the Provost.
The Provost. And we talked to them both afterwards. And obviously, and you know this, Doug and Frank, but they can't say anything on these. They have to be very careful of what they say and how they say. There's, like they said, we're not breaking any news up here today because there was a gentleman from ESPN and which we talked to, and another guy I think in healthcare who I had a great conversation with. But the point is just sort of to give an overview of what AI. But no question after the conversation yesterday that Rob called, dialed me in on. It was fascinating because we were able to ask a little bit more questions, like what is the future of coaching and AI, right? Because we have analysts and 30, 40 analysts, right, that are crunching numbers. And, his answer was very logical, which was like, well, right now we have people that do it, right? And that's sort of comfortable. And you know how coaches can be like, if they try something and it doesn't work, or it's difficult, or the tech is too much, they have too much to do. They don't, if it's not easily incorporated into their milieu, it's not going to occur on a daily. And the first coach to sort of embrace that, and I asked this to Hugh Freeze when he was on at SEC Media Days, and he says that they're about 5 years out from really, really embracing AI and how that's going to incorporate into everything that they do.
And it's going to be a shocker. In the meeting I had yesterday on campus, Doug, there's a cabal of really smart people right there in the middle of the campus, and they're with the provost office. We all know the board of trustees is the board of trustees, and then the president has to deal with them. He puts a game plan together, a vision, and who executes it is the provost and the assistant to the provost. That's where the future presidents are. Look who your provost is. They're going to be a president at your school or somewhere. But this AI and technology, what they're doing in strength training, is going to change everything. All right, guys.
Well, Rob, can I say one quick thing? Tiger Air, the company I'm associated with the air conditioned helmets.
Yeah, give us an update.
We're working on a band that goes around the temporal lobe to pick up all the physical readings, not only of athletes, but also of people that are doing construction and industrial work and petrochemical, so that they can determine the workload of that individual in real time with AI, to where they can be directed if they've got to come in if they're having heat exhaustion, or where they can be best used for efficiencies. That's going to come to sports, and it's going to certainly come to football. Like Doug said, we're the front porch. It's the bellwether. You can bet AI will be in all of this, because if it increases your efficiency and it increases safety, it will absolutely be implemented.
Yeah, Doug.
And imagine it's 3rd and 8 in a national championship game, and that helmet technology, and remember that's inches away from the microphone in the quarterback's helmet in the case of the QB, but you got an edge rusher, and the system tells you we've got to substitute a 3rd string defensive end for that guy. That's what the metrics are telling us. It's going to be insane, and it's going to be an interesting subplot. And by the way, Rob, either GSC or Coach Com, I'd love for one of us to find their spokesperson to come on and talk about how exactly this helmet mic will be used by rule and by technology. It'd be fascinating.
That's a good idea.
Coach Com is here at the Research Park in Auburn. I'll give him a holler after the show. After we're on Oklahoma.
And I just wanted to. Sorry, I just wanted to say to Doug's comment is that they actually, the panel did touch on that whole thing, and but the opposite side of that argument was, do you take Jordan out of the flu game? Right. Yeah. And so when do we go too far? Because when does, this, our spirit, right, our soul take over? Like when, because we still don't understand flow. We don't understand it. Yeah. We don't get it. They talk about it, this subconscious action that is occurring by something that you've done so many times that you no longer are thinking about. Therefore, you're Pele. Therefore, you're Messi. Therefore, baseball.
Metrics and old school
basketball.
Baseball
Jordan talks about
it than anybody. That's what Dr. Ali said yesterday.
And Brenden, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, go say it.
Well, I was just going to say it's going to be. We'll see instances where use of AI in game or even preparing for a game goes too far. Not unlike Lane Kiffin getting too enamored with analytics, going for it on 4th and 10. I mean 4th and 1 at his 10-yard line.
Yeah. But, look, this discussion, and y'all are all very smart, and you get it. At Dr. Ali, we're going to try to get him on the show next week, and it's just. And it's not like he puts it in the vernacular to where people can understand it. And that's what it's like a pope preaching at mass. It puts it in the vernacular, the language of the people. But what I see going on with AI is it'll work, and then someone will figure something else. Everything has a shelf life. Every offense, every defense has a shelf life. But it'll always be there. But I'm going to throw another one at you.
Rob.
We went to the Exo Armor. You know, the people
Rob, sorry
we
to
had
interrupt.
on here.
I got to scoot, man. Sorry.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you, Doug. See you, Doug Dean. Have a good weekend. He's
We
ready.
had we went to Exo Armor's office yesterday out at the Auburn Research Park. They're the ones making the pads with the 3D printers and all. Guys, I took Dr. Waller May, my esteemed colleague. It was like Barney and Gomer with Dr. Pendyke and the miracle salve for the mange. How'd you get your voice to do that, Barney? Well, I'm Dr. Pendyke from the Auburn Agronomy Department.
I think the overall arcing conversation that we were having with him was, and I think this is important to know, is about AI. AI is not it's not jump the fence and starting to create its own self. AI is predictive learning, right? That's the important part to understand. If your data is not clean going in, and this was what the conference talked about a lot, you are going to get, the wrong information. AI is
there. You go.
AI is there to. Well, hold on.
What that means.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
cool.
illustrate that. So essentially, it's like AI is great. It can write an email for you. It can get to know you. You can have a sort of pseudo relationship with ChatGPT. That's the most popular thing out there, right? It's amazing, right? And it's cool because it's like the assistant that's like the neutral tile in Scrabble. You say, be a copywriter and write this, right? And what was interesting about the dialogue that we're having yesterday was that the doctor was saying, well, put at the bottom of your prompt and I'll give you $20 for it. And he said, you'll get a better response because that AI has learned us, not learning. It's not itself. It's learned what we like. It knows what we want as human beings. Therefore, it's just predicting what we're going to do, much like an algorithm with Facebook is. The joke is show me a post that 3 people liked. I can probably predict what they had for lunch. Show me a post, but with 300 likes, I can probably tell you a lot about their life. So, it's all it's doing is connecting with existing algorithm, and then it's processing this mass amount of data quickly.
Yes.
That's what it does. So if you have a shit ton of data, right, i.e. biometrics and all this kind of stuff, it can process this with the power of what we're doing with quantum computing and all these different things that we're getting faster and faster and faster. Now we get that real-time decision, but we still have to put in the clean data. And that's where things like sensors on their body, around their head, and all these things that can come in that can give you that real-time data that gives you an option to make, any sort of, obviously as a coach, a play or whatever it may be. Yep. But, interestingly enough, is what we're going to get from all this data is as time goes on, we're going to save this new data that we're getting from these new helmet sensors and things. Yep. And then we're going to get a sort of look into what's it like to be in flow. What's it like, what are their biometrics when they're in that moment? Because we could never register those before in game, right? Yeah. And that's the fascinating place.
It's only as good as what's being inputted, put into it.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Junk in, junk out. Yeah. And positive in, positive out. You better have good. All right. Let's think now. We know about Tiger Air, the AC in there. How is that going? I mean, is it growing, or a lot of teams buying in?
Well, what's interesting is the talk about putting the speakers in will then override the long-standing, and I'm talking mainly about high school now, not college and pro, but the high schoolers were a little bit more hesitant to put it in because they were afraid of the rule where you can't have a foreign object in your helmet, not thinking that it was something to keep them safer and alive and, cool their core temperature. It was mainly there because they didn't want a foreign sound in there, basically instruction. Once that goes away, once the National High School Association allows headpieces, listening devices, communications in, that opens up Pandora's box. And there shouldn't be a reason that any child, these children that are dying during, practices, just like we're about to get into, all these high school football programs are starting to go. You're going to have at least a half dozen of these kids are going to pass away because of heat exhaustion this year. This keeps these kids much safer. But the interesting thing is that band where the company's going is they're going to start giving the hard equipment away so that they can apply AI, because not only will the information help in things like construction and industrial facilities, but the data from the AI on heat-related instances can then be sent out to all the other AI processing for all these other different items that they have. That's where the company Tiger Air is going. They want to be a purveyor of heat-related information for every industry.
Yeah,
that's where this is going.
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
But it leans in on safety and help, but then it yields so much more
efficiency. Absolutely.
I mean, you got stuff, because then we get into, well, you can tell if your employee's on drugs. You can tell, you can tell, and that's all safety. I'm just saying, as a construction company, I feel like you have the right as the owner to know because if you don't, and you can't predict that, what's going to happen and what is happening is things like 3D printing is happening for houses, for things that like, there's a company in Texas. They just got a thing running 24 hours a day, making homes like small homes right now.
Yep.
AI is going to plug into that, and we're just, the next 10 years is a renaissance of technology. And that's important to understand. I think that word is really important to understand. It's a renaissance, because the things that we always thought that we would have by now, the Jetsons, flying cars, all that stuff, self-driving cars, needs AI to do it. It has to have an onboard thinking something.
It does.
And that thinking something needs to be connected to a network. And it needs to have in one way, because if it loses its own, like itself or power or whatever, you need to have something else that comes in and takes over. It's a check, it's a backup. And I think we are just in that and that's what the doctor was saying, very, very, very beginning stages to seeing how AI connects with other AI, how they talk to each other. And that's what ChatGPT is. That's why it's such a huge piece. It's a language AI that we no longer have to write code to talk to other computers. It bridges that gap, and also does things like where they're saying, oh, we're taking whale conversations and we're learning how to understand what they're saying, right? So it's exciting, it's scary, but in sports it's gonna be fascinating, because he said they expect the athlete to increase in, like, I guess, I don't know, Rob, what was it? Basically to get better by 30% in the next 10
more
years.
efficient.
30%, more than 30%, they should become better, faster, stronger, quicker. And we're seeing it now. One-handed grabs are like a thing, right? All these things are getting better. And I think that's going to be fascinating for this sport, especially at the collegiate level. Yeah.
And speaking of the word renaissance, the Renaissance had really two components, science and art. And the incredible thing about AI, put in a request to write an article or write a play or whatever. It literally not only does it from a science standpoint, but it has the ability of doing it from an artistic standpoint.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it.
The background on this show was made by AI.
Yeah.
The one that has right now in this show, I made it with AI.
Yeah.
The red, white, and blue, the American flag background.
Because you have the ability to, when it prints something or makes something, you say, tweak it, make it better. Like, make it better, make it better. You can keep doing iterations of this thing until you're bored, until you have whatever you want. And that's the beauty of it. And that's right now, which sparks us to have creativity.
I can tell you, Auburn's defense wish it had AI in that last play of that damn Iron Bowl. I can tell you that right now.
that one.
Let's make the platform.
They would not have had two people rushing. AI would have said rush 5.
Hey, last year's Darwin Award for the worst call, the dumbest call, was 4th and 31. Now they didn't even rush 2; they played patty cake. But let me throw something at you. We talk about AI and artificial intelligence, what it is. The top people in any sport, in any business, profession, you pick it, art, whatever, they all consult the top 5% with coaches, mentors. Steve Spurrier was big on sports psychology. I've met Dr. Kevin Elko, sports psychologist. he worked with Alabama and a lot of teams. Saban had him come in. He had his checklist of things about, the psychology of life. And more what AI really is smart people, the best people listen to, they have mentors. And that's what it gets down to. And Alabama was ahead of all of this about 6 years ago when Scott Cochran left and went to Georgia, when they hired Dr. Ballou and I think Dr. Ray from Indiana, the strength coaches, who've now gone on, I think, with the Saints. All right. Maximum, strength at your bench press peak and squats and your sprints and everything. It's almost
well, they were talking,
as soon
about
as
when
we
he
think
goes
we
to
got it figured out, we don't.
Yeah, and at Auburn, they said they go in now already, and they check in, they put a number into the machine.
Oh, yeah.
And that number connects to an AI, and that it registers every workout and then gives them, readouts and all that stuff to the trainers.
Yeah.
They said they're already using that. He said, we're already using it in places like the Hebner Center because that's brand new. Rob made a good point about it, saying, Florida and Auburn are very close in construction of their both facilities, and because of that, you're getting state of the art, and one of those things is AI. And so more and more and more, like your phone is AI, right? Like what we'll see even more so down the road is that players are already going to be tracking themselves and their own biometrics, which we do at Apple Watches and all that stuff. They're going to come with data, right? And that data is going to connect to the next coach. It's like a doctor, right? You're going to keep pushing that information down the line. So we're really going to drill down now on an athlete and what makes an athlete. But I think the intangible, which we always said, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it's so important. If you've ever played a sport, if you've ever coached a sport, if you love sport, you feel the emotion, you feel the moment, the moment where you can say, I'm better than you right now. Right now, maybe not every day, but right now I'm better than you, and I'm going to win the football game. I'm going to make the catch. I want the rock, whatever the hell you want to say it. We've heard it 1,000 times and read it a million more. That's what we can't figure out. And that is what's going to be so interesting to see what comes of this. And I think what you're doing at Tiger Air is truly at the forefront of that. I'm excited to see and learn more about it.
Frank, here's another thing in Brenden. What about if we could see if we could see through if we don't do something, the effects of it? I always like to tell people, you've got to live in hell for 5 minutes to win this race, because you're going to spend the rest of your life wondering, what if we could see, what if we did? Because the problem with so many people is, look at fans. Their team gets down 14-0 in the first quarter in a game, and they're sitting there like this. You got a stadium full of people, the grumpy old man. Why even go to the game? What I've always done is I pick out numbers of players on my team. I pick out an offensive and a defensive player. And I think, how would my teammates react if we were down 14-0 and they said, all right, everybody get over here, let's figure it out. And I'm sitting there like this with a scowl on my face, pissed off. Nobody wants to be around people like that. Audrey's bought the book again, the pout fish with the pout face, spreading the dreary wearies all over the place. That's what nobody wants to be around. Now,
but we'll be able to see that now. And now we'll be able to see, when you give your rah-rah speech to your team, we'll now be able to see the biometrics of how they respond.
Yeah.
Wow, they really got up with that. That really made a difference. Or maybe that guy got pissed. Maybe that guy liked it. So now you're motivating the individual now. So now are we going to go to individual coaches? It's like, think about that. Like if you're a coach and you're like, man, this guy's a positive reinforcement guy and this guy's a negative reinforcement guy. And I know that to be sure, because I can see it. So now how are you going to change your coaching?
Yeah. You're watching how the respondents are reacting to the message that's coming in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the fascinating part about it. And then, hey, we did X to this guy. He responded negatively, but we put him in, bam, and he went nuts for it. So maybe anger is his motivator. So maybe he needs he doesn't know what he needs, right? So then we really, really get into that. We're really getting to the psychology of the whole thing, which is fun. And we're going to do a whole series on AI. I think we're going to get the doctor and a couple of these guys to come on and actually don't sound like idiots like I do right now, because I'm really just a fan of the whole thing. But
it's fascinating because it's like driving by the buffet and you're going, wow, I just the smell gets me. And it is fascinating. Look.
And by the way, let me know when you want to do that, and I'll have Jack Karavich, the founder of Tiger Air.
Oh, please. Yeah, I want to do like a series, like a couple of them.
Yeah.
I think there's no way to really get it all. And I think it needs to be like a smart conversation where we have topics and we really, because it's easy to go like this, that digress on.
Yeah. Wilson, my son Wilson was really, we were talking the other day about Jack Karavich. Frank, you are a tip of the spear with this stuff. I hated that Doug had to drop out. I know he had an obligation, but we're going to talk about it. I said, call me today about this AI stuff. Look, great conversation. Chris Plank, Boomer Sooner Network, SEC, 1
Come
through
on,
16.
Bengal one.
Contiguous footprint. That, Frank, we're going to let's talk about getting Bengal 1 for some road trips this year. Wrap it in the Sidelines logo. We're thinking of Gainesville,
I would make a studio in the
an
back.
Auburn game this year.
We'll have a cool little studio. And
Yeah.
we'll do our show, and we'll get some lawn chairs. Right, we'll keep it real. Right, and we'll go to a best tailgate, and we'll have and we'll just have fun. Like screw game day. That's better than game day because we'll have a better. And truly, I kid you not, Frank. I know, but it's been my dream since I started streaming in 2008 to have a mobile production studio to go and be like Madden and drink in the SEC, man. Because
I got the RV.
People don't know, they don't know what they're missing.
And with our press ability, get us as close to the stadium as you can. We'll pull it to where they allow it. I just need a 41-foot footprint. We'll get it close, and you can.
We'll get Elon to shoot us some internet, so we'll get some good feed. Maybe get some. I mean, dude, because the tech is here now. I think it would be fun. I think it would be the most fun. So we've outlined a couple of games. We'll talk to you about it later. Frank, you're one of my very, very favorite guys. I really enjoyed getting to know you these last couple.
You too, buddy.
We're gonna have fun with this, and we don't wear skinny jeans, and we let people.
I wear skinny jeans.
We don't.
I wear them.
Kool-Aid.
Rob, I'm single. Hey. I wear skinny jeans. Leave me alone. Shut up, Rob.
We're not wearing pink suits, is what I'm saying.
You're married, Rob. Thanks for your opinion. Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna have a ball. We're not gonna be like the ESPN guys, though. We're gonna let you speak. Brenden and I mean, we've been wanting. The other day when Audrey heard about this, she said Brenden went crazy because he wants to do it so bad. It is going to be a lot of fun because his production skills, he understands. It's more than just a hot spot. But we're going to have a blast.
Oh, my God. They're taking a limb off the top of my house. It's like the size of Bengal 1. I swear to God, it just made a pop. We're going to have a blast on this road
right now. Hey, we're going to have to get some music. We're coming to town. We'll be on the road again. I prefer Willie on the road again.
Yeah,
so
we're going to find some. I can tickle the guitar a little bit.
We copyright issues. We have to
come
up with some organic music. But great show today. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you on Monday.
Say goodbye, Rob.
We are 36 days away. Remember
Rob,
that.
just say goodbye. Okay.
Come on.
Good night, everybody.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.